Howdy there, guys. It's Joe again with your local farmer. And today I'm going to do something different. I'm going to call this Farmer Rants. I'm going to put together a couple of things that really torque us off as farmers. Who knows? Maybe you guys might like this. Okay, rant number one. In 1984, President Ronald Reagan signed into law the 1984 Right to Farm Act. The 1984 Right to Farm Act essentially guaranteed that farmers couldn't be sued or litigated against for doing normal farm activities. That's, dairies making smells or farmers running equipment late at night. But there was a catch, and this is where the rant comes from, folks. In that law was a little tidbit that said farms are protected from doing farm activities, but only if they never change their farming operation. Tell me how much sense that makes, folks. That'd be the equivalent of saying, Apple computers, you are completely guaranteed, against litigation in your operations, but you must only make the Apple IIe, okay? And you can never change your operation. You can never alter your operation based on economic factors. That ticks me off. All right, Joe's rant number two. The United States ag system is known for making hundreds of thousands of tons of commodity crops. That'd be things like corn, soybeans, wheat, rice, stuff like that. And we ship it all over the world. But if you will, we make what is essentially low dollar crops. These are, like I said, these are commodity crops. And then we proceed to import container load after container load of very high dollar crops, things such as berries, raspberries, produce, lettuce and onions and things like that from God knows where. And in fact, the one that has me very frustrated is a lot of this stuff is labeled as organic. Nothing against organic, by the way, folks. But tell me, are the organic practices in Colombia the same as they are in the United States? And I realize they're supposed to be, but are they? So we see these produce items all the time coming into our local grocery store, and it says product of Chile, product of Argentina, a product of Brazil. Why can't we grow that here? I guess my rant really comes down to this. With the American agricultural system, why don't we have a policy that we feed Americans first and the rest can go overseas? But instead, we're sending low dollar crops overseas and then purchasing all the high dollar crops. That ticks me off. Okay, so farmer rant number 3. Government programs that only help certain people or certain farmers. You see, one of the things that a lot of folks have have wrong about agriculture in the United States is that there are, thousands upon thousands of farms that receive subsidies. In reality, only 25% of all farmers in the United States actually receive any subsidy at all. And in fact, in the United States, we constantly talk about the big 6. And let me see if I can run through the big 6 for you real quick. That's going to be rice, canola, wheat, corn, soybeans, and cotton. Yay, I did it. All 6 of them. Anyhow, as a general rule, those are the only 6 crops that really get subsidies. So it's really frustrating as a farmer that, a lot of folks make the assumption that all farmers get subsidies, all farmers are supported by the federal government. The reality is there's only a small percentage. It's only ones that grow certain crops. And the rest of us, to use a term, the rest of us can pound sand. Because the reality is, I don't want to say they don't care about us, but it kind of seems that way at times. Well, hey there. So, farmer rant number 4. People that think that farming was better in the 1800s when we farmed with horses. It is true that horses didn't burn, carbon-based fuel, but they did create methane, which is the problem that folks are having with animal agriculture in general right now. The other thing is that animal agriculture is less efficient. Right off the top, animal agriculture is less efficient by 1/3 because they've proven time and again that approximately 1/3 of every crop you grow, either the cost of, or excuse me, the revenue created from that crop, or 1/3 of the crop itself is going to go right back into feeding those animals. The reason that we left animal agriculture, or excuse me, not animal agriculture, but farming with horses and oxen and that kind of thing, the reason we left that is because all of the rest of the year, when you park a tractor in the shed, it burns no fuel and has no additional cost. That horse, that ox, that whatever, that mule, you have to feed it 365 days a year. So let's just say, come on, people, let's think critically. It's not going to happen. Okay, Farmer Rant number 5. And this rant is quite specific to us and folks with farm operations very similar to us. And it's also double-sided, this one. Farmer Rant number 5 is folks within the ag industry that use the term farmer to only mean people in the commercial farm industry, or commercial agriculture, for lack of a better term. Also, folks who are, well, let's just say city folks. I love them, but that's the term I have for them. City folks, that when they use the term farmer, they only mean Bobby Joe down at their local farm store, or excuse me, farmer's market, because they're the person that they have direct contact to. So one is excluding one whole segment of the industry because they don't see him as, big enough. The other excludes the whole other side of the industry because they see him as too big. And what we need to realize is essentially anybody, the way I look at it, anybody making money from an agricultural product, that's a farmer. I'll even go a step further. We live in the state of Washington, and hemp is legal in the state of Washington. Are they farmers? Well, is the money green? It is. Therefore, they're farmers. We have to accept everyone, or we accept no one. So get over it, people. All right, Farmer Rant number 6. And this one has a little lead into it. A couple of years ago, the singer Neil Young performed at the Farm Aid concert. By the way, us farmers didn't even know that Farm Aid was still a thing, but evidently it is. So in an interview after that Farm Aid concert, Neil Young proclaims that all agriculture in the United States should be organic. We should just mandate it. No chemical use, no chemical fertilizers, no chemical herbicides anymore in the United States. Okay? Now I have to throw in a little caveat there, guys. I'm kind of the oddball in my family, or shall I say my peer group, in that I'm not saying that I eat organic all the time, but I understand it. I get it. I totally grasp the concept that people want to consume less chemicals in their diet. On board with you guys. I get it. But the concept that all American agriculture would be organic is a fallacy. It's not going to happen, okay? The first thing most everybody can agree on is that even if we can keep most of the hybridized varieties, whether that's hybrid corn, hybrid soybeans, hybrid whatever, within 3 to 5 years, we're going to see crop yields at 1/2 of what our current yields are. Folks, there's 6.5 billion people in the world? And my apologies, I don't even know how many people there are in the world anymore. I've lost track. But here's the catch. Without those chemical fertilizers and chemical herbicides and insecticides, we're not going to feed everybody. So we've got to decide what 3 billion people aren't worth feeding. I'm sorry. That's a farmer rant, but that's what it's got to be. All right, guys. Joe's Farmer Rant number 7. The idea that practices in the garden translate exactly to practices in a farm field. Let me give you a great example. I have a friend who used to farm rice in Northern California, 1,700 acres of rice. And they would constantly have young undergrads come out from UC Davis. That's University of California, Davis. And they would ask them, how come you guys how come you use chemical fertilizer and not compost? Well, let's put it this way, guys. One of the things that you need to grasp with a lot of management practices is it's very hard to use a business term, to scale. Okay, meaning to upsize it to the size of an operation of a farm. Okay, when you get started talking to some professionals specifically about compost, we're talking roughly 3 tons per acre, or 6,000 pounds for those of us that live in the U.S. and still use a archaic weight system. 6,000 pounds per acre, okay? And this one particular, like I said, this particular friend of mine, had a student ask him about, why don't you use compost? And he goes, think about it. That's 6,000 pounds per acre. 8 acres is 48,000 pounds, or approximately 1 semi-load. So each semi-load only covers 8 acres. So, take 1,700 acres divided by 8 will tell you how many truckloads, semi-loads of compost. Compost that you have to first create and then haul, and then pay for the fuel to haul, plus the trucks and the tires and the, road tax and all that stuff. And so what we run into quite often is that people have these concepts that on the small scale, they make perfect sense. I had another guy tell me that there's this thing called trench composting. The idea is you dig a trench, you dump raw compost products into it, food waste, cardboard, stuff like that. You then cover the trench up with the soil that you dug out, and then you plant into that. And he says, hey, it's great. We should do it on a large scale. I said, great. Did you know that to rent an excavator is going to be, $500+ a day? And he goes, oh, I didn't think about that. And I said, plus the operator's about $20+ an hour. Oh, I didn't think about that either. So the problem is, it isn't that the concepts don't make sense. The concepts are great. The problem is they don't scale, and they don't scale effectively where a farm can be profitable. Like I said, they're great concepts, but there's an awful lot of talk about why do farmers not do this, shall we say, common sense practice? Well, because it's not common sense. When you break down to the economy of it, the efficiency of it, and ultimately the price of it, that's where things break down real fast. And that's my last farmer rant.